school with Ron Paulson and said, bring a bunch in because Ernie and his clan are going to attack. And I said, ooh, I like that word. And I think about, honestly, Ernie Hancock, I would say like once a week, which sounds kind of strange, like why, Chris? Well, when I drive from the town I live in over to Henniker, I have to take a right-hand turn on this road. And every time I make that turn high up, and I'm a tall guy, I can't reach this sign. It's about 25 feet up in the air. There's a Ron Paul sign. It's still up to this day. And Ernie and his troop put it up there, and they're still up all over the state of New Hampshire. I actually saw one in Hawaii once on the top of this like mudslide. I'm like, who put that up? Probably Ernie and his guys climbed up that. So it was actually awe-inspiring, and my daughter points out, she goes, hey Daddy, that's Ron Paul. He's right there, right? Oh, by the way, she calls him the man who should be president. So I just think what Ernie's doing is just awe-inspiring, and they're activists, they're doers, and that's what I love about what Ernie and his group are doing out there in Phoenix. So please welcome Ernie Hancock. Actionists, I didn't say activists, I said actionists.
I love you all. It's all about the love. All we need is love. Give peace a chance. These are phrases that had such an impact on an entire generation, even before me, and now the people that were so inspired by the words of the 60s and 70s and visionaries like John Lennon, now are a lot of times the force, the resources, and the understanding of what's happening now with a lot of the young people. I'm going to tell you a personal story. I got, I don't know, 40 minutes or so. And I'd like to get into questions because a lot of the things I'm going to say is going to be controversial, and I know you just want to. Can't wait. So please go ahead and formulate your question in a semi-form of a question. And get ready to, engage me, but I do this a lot. 4 hours a day. 2 hours in the morning show, 2 hours afternoon show, 5 days a week on 2 networks, and man, they bring it on, and here we go. So I give you that warning because I know whatever it is that you're going to ask, whatever you're going to say, freedom's the answer, what's the question? So this is, because I understand from experience, I was the young people here. I started in my 20s. I just had my 4th child when I started really becoming aware of what was really going on. And it wasn't a truth button that you went to the internet and stuff in 1988. You had to actually go read the law. You had to go down to the law library. You had to go to the library. You had to read some books. You had to understand. You had to go watch the sausage being made. I mean, you actually had to be an activist engaged in the process to know what's really going on. And I'll tell you what's going on. It is a battle for our minds. It always has been. It's a cultural thing. All of the little ouch quit it legislation, what they're going to do to us, initiative, if we don't, they're gonna, and the fear, it's all a psyop. I know some people don't like that word, psyop. Ooh, was it? I don't know what else you call it. It's a psychological operation. What makes me so optimistic is this. They have to spend trillions of dollars over decades to change a human being into a battery for the machine. It is amazing how much money they have to spend in the public education system, propaganda, corporate media, all the things that they do to make us believe or have the doubt, are we doing the right thing? Can we be free? Is this freedom thing the way to go? And if we do the freedom, do we have to challenge their collective? If we're going to do this freedom thing, well then we got to be a bigger, badder collective to go up against the unlimited resources and the F-16s and the M-16s and the M1 Abrams tanks, to be able to beat them when all you really need to do is put a daisy in the gun barrel. This is so simple to a lot of people that have been in this, but you can't teach that. You have to live it. You have to experience it. I do not waste time trying to convince people what to do. I already know better, because you couldn't have done it to me. When I'm young, 20-something years old, going through my 30s, my wife and I doing, blah, 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 I'm going to try all this stuff. But what do they say? Did you call your legislator? Did you write your congressman? Did you run for office? Did you file a lawsuit? Did you yada, yada, yada? I go out like, check, 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 check. And I started over, check, 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 check. I'm checked out, man. I'm good. What do I know that made the biggest impact in my life? The main thing is to know that, freedom is the answer. And I'll tell you this. If you remember nothing, all right, here, you write this down. You ready? There is no central plan for freedom. It doesn't exist. You can't do it. And those that try to do it will come up against those that know there's no central plan for freedom. And I'll tell you, you will always have this contention. And then it'll evolve. I mean, you'll find everybody's boundaries. Everybody will start to understand other people. Because this is what I do. Imagine this. Every time, it was good to hear Judge Napolitano, and you see the reaction from some of the, especially the older people, that have not heard this before. Because a lot of the young people are far more researched or have been exposed to a much wider breadth of information than people that aren't on the internet as much. And that's one thing I learned about during the Ron Paul Revolution when we were doing that. I was in Iowa during the straw poll. And you had this mass of people, hundreds, thousands of people there. And the most enthusiastic, of course, were the Ron Paul supporters. I mean, it was just, they went stupid. I mean, they were just having all kinds of fun. And the other guys, they just couldn't understand. They would spend tens of millions of dollars just to give the impression that they grassroots thing. Just to fake it, okay? You go out and you saw hundreds of big buses. They had to bus in their people. So I'm going, okay, why did you see in this graph, that you start from birth to 100 years old, and you saw this hump in the 20s, and then it kind of, it went down. But the older people, everybody had a common ideology. I see what it was. They just wanted to know the truth. Just tell us the truth. Oh, freedom's the truth. Okay, I vote for that. The reason there were so many young people was because they were born after 1980. They matured along with the internet. When they're questioning authority, when they're starting to go, I'm not sure my mandatory youth indoctrination camp leader is, telling me the truth in the public schools, where do I go? They go to what they perceive to be the truth button. I mean, it's not all truth, but the truth is out there. So they go, and generally, and certainly, I would say specifically, people do seek the truth. I can't imagine, I'm sure there are people out there, but I can't imagine a young person going to junior high is going out there, I want to lie. I want to find the untruth. Now, they're looking for something that's peer reviewed. When they find the truth, what do? They share it with their friends. It goes back and forth. They make sure that people understand that, this is why I believe what I believe. So what I do is I make sure that I'm not trying to convince anybody. If I go on a radio program and I try to convince them, this is the truth, here come the arguments. That's not my intent. I go, I just want you to understand why I'm so convinced. I'm not trying to convince you. This is why I'm convinced. These are the experiences I've had over 2 decades. This is what happened. Anybody comes to me with anything, I got a story. This demographic, that hump that I saw in Iowa, was because they matured along with the internet. By the time they were becoming teenagers in the early, mid-90s, they were having access to this kind of information. This world is different now, and it's going to be a lot more different.